The league is changing. The league is changing. Since last episode, a lot of stuff has happened. We've heard from John Doe 2's mother. We've now seen the general manager step down from his position in Bob Murray. Even more stuff about Brad Aldridge, and sort of now, if there's an investigation with the PA, I think the Hockey Hall of Fame might need to be looking at themselves too for some stuff. We'll talk about that a little later. The update on the Aaron Scaldi stuff. There's been a resolution there. There's a player on the block, but we're going to start with the most important stuff. This, like a few other episodes, there's going to be a lot of focus on more real world stuff, the more important hockey stuff. We're going to try and talk about the Habs and the Leafs a little later, but unfortunately, it's just there. It's just. I don't mean it like the way I mean this. This might come across a little weird, but that stuff isn't nearly as important as some of the stuff that we need to talk about here.
Yeah.
And I say unfortunately is because it's just a shame that it seems like the NHL and sort of the skeletons in the closet are starting to be brought out around here, and even further within the league. So first off, Rick Westhead had spoken to John Doe 2's mother. That is the mother of the high school boy that Brad Aldridge sexually assaulted. And he then served jail time for it. Not nearly enough. And of course, that is the guy who is alleging that the Blackhawks gave a letter of reference. We still don't know what's going on there. And it wasn't easy to listen to. For me, it was just as bad as Kyle Beach's interview, because yes, you didn't hear from the victim themselves, but if you've ever sort of really wanted, or you didn't tell how it can affect a parent, much less a mother, it's again warning that if you're going to go and listen to it, it's not easy. No. But I credit to the mother. Of course, they didn't name her or anything because for obvious reasons, but she gave a lot of context into just sort of how it's affected John Doe 2, the family too. And I know I'm talking a bit through the setup here, but the reason I bring it up when we're starting with this is the league continued to handle this the wrong way. We know now that the league will not be providing, or they will not be covering the price of counseling for John Doe 2's family and John Doe 2 himself. Apparently, a league source or a representative in an email said they're going to leave it up to the Blackhawks. And for those of you who don't remember, the Blackhawks, they are trying to reach a settlement with Kyle Beach, but in court they are trying to get the original Kyle Beach suit as well as the John Doe 2 suit thrown out of court. And they're giving it to the Blackhawks. I don't think we can put more on besides adding to our previous conversations about it. I think we need a shake up with the league. It's not just give your heads a shake. It's Bettman and Daly need to go at this point. I don't know what more there needs to be said, but
yeah, no, it's just it was disappointing. Obviously, like first off, reminder: Rick Westhead reported it's been less than a week, maybe, that multiple sponsors have, quote, put the NHL on notice to improve their response to this scandal. Like this was a thing that was said. And I get that the league is not obligated to do anything, but this response just goes to show their lack of, number one, empathy, and two, their lack of understanding of the seriousness of the situation that one of their teams put someone else to. They clearly lack the understanding that one of their, quote, glorious organizations, the ones that make them money, let this happen. And it bit them so hard in the ass that Brad Aldridge went on to have other victims, including a minor, which he was jailed for. Like, to me, how can you watch the same organization who swept this under the rug in 2010 and in 2021 let them handle this? Like, I don't care if no one's there anymore from 2010. And I get, we can say, well, the warts is, and they didn't know, but I no longer have trust in the organization to do the right thing. I just want to read this one part to just get my point across from the Jenner and Block report. This is This is what it says, quote, on June 16th, 2010, the director of human resources met with Aldridge and offered him the option to undergo an investigation into what occurred with John Doe or to resign. Aldridge chose to resign and signed a separation agreement during the meeting. No investigation was conducted. Aldridge received a severance and a playoff bonus and continued to be paid a salary for several months. And then in 2021, this same organization, when the league was made aware of the lawsuits, the Blackhawks said it was pretty much nothing and not to worry about it. Not only this, but the same organization that still has players that taunted Kyle Beach after the fact and those guys did nothing. The leadership there, not only have I lost trust in this league, but this team and their players for years, we were told that the amount of leaders and the leadership on that team that it has. And each and every one who stood idly by and did absolutely nothing. Nothing. That's a true failure of leadership, and it is pure cowardice because they chose their quote unquote normalcy over making sure a potential future teammate was okay. I'm genuinely not entirely sure how the league saw what happened and believes that this organization can properly handle it. Their lack of response and their clear lack of care of the situation, which was clearly evident by that embarrassment of a press conference, is a clear sign to me that the NHL will always be the fourth best league in North America in every single aspect. That is all I have to say. Sorry.
No worries.
That was needed. Thanks, Alex.
Yeah. Well, freaking take a drink of water. That was That was good. Daniel, it really just is another thing of it's the league being like, I don't want to take responsibility for this, even though isn't it just rich that the team that you forgot about, I kind of thought of as Alex was going here, the team that every time there was an outdoor game or a big TV event, you were throwing the Blackhawks out there.
That's the thing I think about is when we think about the old boys club or we think about hockey culture or, the good old days. I remember reading something recently and it's a pretty old quote, but I know a lot of people were using these as Twitter responses, is that segment they got from Brett Hall about how he said, this is what we used to do, for example. And I guess the examples he did was like, we used to go out after games. Mm-hmm. And we used to go out drinking. We used to go to strip clubs. Mm-hmm. We used to do all these things. And then now he's like, and suddenly everything's under a microscope. And that part is not quoted, but he mentioned it afterwards, where a lot of the movements of what the players are doing now is tracked. But that's the thing. That's what you sign on to do. And I think that when he brings up this point, it's something that I feel like is being protected in the league, is something that I feel that, I'm not saying any other sport is perfect, but it's something that they're trying to open up to. They're trying to get rid of. And I feel like with the NHL, they're trying to maintain something that it's confusing and mind-boggling to me, because it is something that what Alex said, that it's going to keep them as the fourth best league, because it just refuses to grow and it refuses to really kind of see what we mentioned of the writings on the wall, where, we know now that from an outside perspective, we're seeing what people are saying about hockey culture. And then even huge sponsors are saying that, all right, listen, we're going to put you on watch because we don't like what you're doing. This is something that you really messed up with. And even now the NHL and the league is saying that, all right, let's not actually make a statement or pry this open. Let's just shift the blame again and say, listen, we're the league. We're not the Chicago Blackhawks.
Just two quick things. I just want to stem off of what Daniel was saying there, and then that's it. Number one, the thing with that Brett, and I know exactly what Brett Hall quote you're talking about. I remember listening to it. It was on Hockey Central. The thing with that is what they're missing. The people who say that are not understanding is no one's telling these guys not to go out and have fun. What we're trying, the point we're trying to get across is that they are not invincible superheroes who have, there can be no consequences. There is a line. If you cross it, then you have to pay the consequences. They can't be this imaginary, well, you know, they're athletes, so they get special treatment. That's not it. Number two, I said fourth, but if I'm being honest, I think they're maybe like sixth or seventh. I think Formula One is more popular. In the United States, Formula One is more popular after Drive to Survive. Remember that, guys. And number two is UFC. Like, I think UFC is just more popular in the US than hockey is.
I could believe it.
Yeah.
Like, especially for this weekend, because I actually had the chance to, at least from a fan perspective, you know, see a race and actually watch UFC. And
Right.
yeah, you could feel it, especially on social media.
By the way, when it was Brett Hull. I mean, not either the shining beacon of morality or the Hulls to begin with. You know, they're just, or most of those old school hockey players aren't really the best, you know, people. Very few. So yeah, not a great example. So I mentioned it earlier. A big sort of issue also here is so Brad Aldrich, I think it was Ryan Rashog who had this, or the first person I saw have it. That Aldrich was apparently given a second cup celebration. Why? And this was while he was on probation after his jail time for what he did to John Doe too, for after he sexually assaulted him. Again, convicted sex offender, who was on probation afterwards, after his jail sentence, was given another day with the cup. Now, the Hall of Fame have claimed that no one knew. That is not a good enough answer. That is, again, another investigation into them is do the Hall of Fame take the chance to follow up with their former, like, you know, I always think of like, how much pressure did it take them? And I know it was like players like Howe and that. It took a lot of pressure for them to can Alan Eagleson, right? Mm-hmm. I really wonder, like, just how much sort of negligence is going on in the Hall of Fame, especially because they were so freaking, it took so much for Aldridge's name to come off. Because remember, it wasn't that long ago where they were claiming, it's the NHL had to make the decision, we can't do it with the cup without their consent, even though you're the Hall of Fame, not the NHL Hall of Fame. I just, no one knew is just not a good enough excuse. Like, how can you not simply, I would assume he would have to request it, obviously.
Yeah.
And again, this also doesn't happen if the Hawks do their due diligence, by the way. How does that sneak in? Like, how did no one think to check that?
Is it fair to say that it's not a lot to ask?
No, not at all.
No.
Not at all.
Like, he was in jail. Like, I don't, like, it was a crime. He was in jail for a crime. Like, is that unrealistic of me to say, well, maybe,
Alex,
I don't know.
You know what they would say?
What?
He wasn't a member of an NHL team at the time. Doesn't count. That's what the
so
league.
So then he shouldn't have the cup.
Hey, listen, I don't know what the Hall of Fame are thinking. You know, they'll take the time to be like, we got to make this freaking, you know, this statue of a women's hockey player. How about put an actual women's hockey player on your damn statue? But we're not going to take the time to double check who we're giving the Stanley Cup to. I don't get it. I don't get it. And sorry, that's not me discriminating women's hockey by. I'm just saying, you know, like Kim St. Pierre is about to go in the Hall of Fame, and like we have all these great women's hockey players, but you won't even put one's face to be represented. That's just me though. Side thing. There's a lot wrong with the Hockey Hall of Fame. Again, like it feels like they don't really value some players outside of North America too. Hy McGillney and what he sort of did. Like I feel like there needs to be something with the Hall of Fame to really look at themselves. I don't know if they're like, we're not going to worry about this right now because I think this weekend is the celebration for a Ginless class.
Yeah, Marion hosts, ironically.
That's so. Oh God, yeah.
Yeah,
that's true. I, by the way, wonder, guys, are people gonna try and, you know, bodyguard Taves and that out of the hall when all is said and done? Because let's be honest, they shouldn't be in there, right? Like Quinville shouldn't be. Kane and Taves, after what they said, probably shouldn't be in there.
The thing is, okay, like, I don't know, because I already know that those are the questions that are going to be thrown at Marian Hossa.
Yeah.
Because when we look back on that team, even though he didn't wear an A, he's one of the veteran guys.
It's Marian Hossa. It's Marian frickin' Hossa. I'm pretty sure he must have won. No, did he ever win a Selke? But that is one of the best players of all time. After who had a well-established career by the time he got to Chicago.
Marian Hossa had 15 points in 22 games, and he had 51 points. Or sorry, that's playoff games. He had 51 points in 57 regular season games.
He's a hockey Hall of Famer.
He is about to go into the Hockey Hall of Fame.
If he knew, it's very plausible that he did. Listen, Quenneville has no right to go in there, right? Could you argue the players were not in that meeting? Sure, but let's not ignore
taunted him.
Yeah,
in training camp, they taunted him.
Well, hold on. Because I don't recall them naming specific players.
No, they didn't.
Be careful, right?
Okay, players taunted him, and leaders stood by and did nothing.
Who were the A? So it was Keith, Seabrook.
It would have just been one. It would have been that group. It would have been their same core players. It doesn't.
Because the guys who spoke up was what? Brent Sopel and Nick Boyden, I believe.
Probably around there, but still, you know what I mean, right? It's those core group of guys. Just to go back, sorry. The point I'm trying to make is baseball, Barry Bonds and that. There's always going to be worried about those greats because of steroids, obviously. So if that's going to do it, I would think sexual assault is a lot more of an issue than that. Now, in sporting, obviously, you don't want to cheat, but sexual assault goes beyond the game. You know what I mean? Those guys really in their part, and not to mention, I think people are going to have a problem with Patrick Kane getting in for allegations in his past. So that's all I'm saying.
So
I like this.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, no, just one thing I want to say for baseball, and this is something that I know it's a hockey podcast, but I just want to give credit to the MLB with this, is when there has been moments of sexual assault and domestic assault, the MLB has been one of the forefront of the leagues to actually punish players for that. Mm-hmm. So, when it comes to the steroids thing, I'm not surprised as well, because when people are going to say that, okay, yeah, but it was Kane and Taves, it was these guys who really in a way were they were up there in the 2010s. But at the same time, when I look at baseball and I think about the steroids, or I think about all these things that are coming out now where we got to put our foot down on the sexual assaults, on the domestic assaults, it just, that's a whole generation of stars that were there, and they're not going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I would say none of them. But that's my personal belief, and that's for multiple reasons. What I think is going to happen is I think there's going to be people who are going to argue Joel Quenneville should not be in the Hockey Hall of Fame, because an integral part of being a head coach beyond winning is leading your team. You are the head leader of that locker room. You're beyond the captain, and you failed one of your players immensely. You failed one of your players. Now, what they're going to say about Kays, Tane, Keith, and Seabrook is, well, you get put into the Hockey Hall of Fame based on the achievements you have. And you're not being inducted as a captain. You're being inducted as a player, and people are going to make the argument that is separate from them being inducted. I don't agree. I personally don't agree, but that is my guess as to what will happen.
Mm-hmm. Throwing it out there, just what I think will happen is the players will probably get in, though there is no excuse as to why Bowman and Quenneville should get in. Absolutely.
Right.
No.
100%.
Especially what the findings were. Bowman has the best chance of the two of them because he was compliant. But like the way he threw like Quinville and that under the bus was like, there's no way, absolutely no way that they should get in.